Bonjour, everybody. I hope things are going well with the online learning. I know it's not ideal. I wish I could be there in person to answer your questions and give you clarification and feedback. But I hope that you're kind of figuring things out. And I'm glad that you're asking me questions to clarify things, and keep those coming. If there's anything you don't understand about a concept or an assignment or Canvas, please let me know. I try to respond to your emails in a timely manner. Also know that if you're struggling, we can arrange an online meeting to kind of have an actual conversation to hopefully clarify things. So I want to take a few minutes and explain a new concept, kind of new, kind of old, today, which is passé composé with the verb être. Let's start with the review. In Unit 6, we learned about passé composé using avoir. And just a reminder that it is a compound tense, meaning you have to have the two parts for every verb you're conjugating. So you have the present tense of avoir, and then you add your past participle. And you need to have both of those. That's the old part, right? And we've done a little bit with that. If you need a review of avoir, and it is conjugated in the present tense, avoir is, here's the song, and I'm not going to inflict that on you right now. And then a reminder of the past participles. If it's an ER verb, you drop the R and add an accent. If it's IR, you drop the R and it ends in an I. And if it's RE, you drop the RE and end with a U. So hopefully that's ringing some bells and you're remembering that from the last unit. Now, when we're doing passé composé with être, it's the same concept. You have your helping verb as piece 1, and then you have your past participle, which is piece 2. So it's être in the present tense, which is the je suis, tu es, il est, elle est, on est, et puis nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, elles sont, et c'est fini. So you need to be super comfortable with these helping verbs. So you don't even have to think about how to conjugate those. Those should be almost automatic. And then you can focus your attention on how to put the tense together, what the past participle is, etc. So again, you can see that it's almost the same principle. It's just that you have a different helping verb to start it off. The good news is that 99.9% of French verbs are going to use the avoir, the way you already know how to do it. Only 17 verbs in the entire French language are going to use être in the past tense. And you do need to be familiar with these, so when you come across a verb, you can think, okay, is this an avoir verb or an être verb? There's a couple of ways to think about this. If you're a visual learner, I find that the house of être is a good one. So there's a whole bunch of verbs focused around a house. So you have entrer, which is to enter, rentrer, which is to re-enter or come back, venir, which is to come, arriver, which is to arrive, and revenir on the bottom here, which is to come back. So those are kind of all of your entry verbs. Once you're in the house, you can monter, which is to go up. Rester is a false friend. It doesn't mean to rest, it means to stay. So you're staying in the house. You have descendre, which is to go down. Tomber, which is to fall down. Naître is a verb we haven't seen at all, and it's an irregular one. You just need to know that it's to be born. Then we have some going verbs. Aller is to go, partir is to leave, sortir is to go out or exit. We have retourner, and then at the bottom we have a couple that don't necessarily fit. You have passer, which is to physically pass by a house, and then we have mourir, which is to die, and décéder is to decease. So we have the beginning with to be born, the end with to die, and then all those actions that are going on in between. That's one way of thinking about it. The other way is called Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp. And this is what's useful for me because I can know exactly if I'm missing one. So you have the word Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp spelled out. Note that there are 2 P's on Vandertramp. And each letter is a verb. So you have the same verbs just in kind of a different format. I like this one because it gives you the past participles as well. So you can look across and see what the past participles are. The good news about the Dr. and Miss, or all of these verbs, is that a lot of them are ERs, and so it's really easy just to figure out what the past participle is. There are a handful of irregular ones that I want you to know and remember. The first one is venir, and you'll see there are three. There's one, here's venir, here's revenir, and then devenir is to become. And they're all going to follow that same past participle. It's an IR verb, and normally you think it would be veni, which is you just take off the R, but it's irregular, so it's venu. You need to remember that one. And then devenir is devenu, and revenir is revenu. So really, if you could just remember, the ones that end in venir are going to end in U. The other ones that are irregular, and the good news is you don't talk about these or use these very often. Naître, the past participle is né, which obviously is very irregular. And then mourir, the past participle is mort. So you can see, and then the rest are going to follow your rules. Okay, if you would like, you can listen to a song that kind of lists the etre verbs in passé composé. It's kind of obnoxious, but it'll get it stuck in your head. So again, I'm not going to take time to do that right now. Now, there's one more step when you're using être as your helping verb that you don't have to do when using avoir. So this is the one thing that makes it a little bit more complicated and that you have to remember only when using être. So you do your, you conjugate your être, you find your past participle, and then you have to make sure that the past participle agrees with the subject. So if the subject is feminine, you add an E to the past participle, just like we do with adjectives. If the subject is plural, you add an S to the past participle. If it's feminine and plural, you add an E and an S. So let's see what that looks like. For example, il est allé, he went. I have my être conjugated, I have my past participle of aller, and I'm done because it's masculine. As soon as she went, then it's elle, same process. I do être as my helping verb, the past participle of aller, but now because it's feminine, I need an extra E on there. If it's ils sont allés, it's plural, so I add an S. And if it's elles sont allées, I add an E for feminine and an S for plural. So as you're doing this, the good news is in speaking, it's not going to make a difference in most cases. They're going to be silent. But when you're writing, you do have to pay attention to adding those extra letters on the end to make it agree. A couple more examples. So Marc est allé, he went, no extra letters on the end. Agathe, she went with an extra E. Benjamin et Loïc went, plural, and then elles sont allées, ES. So just to see what that looks like kind of in a bigger context. Okay, the last thing, this is a nuance and it's a little bit tricky because it involves another part of speech. Some of these 17 etre verbs, Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp, House of Etre, whatever you want to think about that, can be followed by a direct object. So the person is not doing it, they're doing it to something else, for example. So it's not that I went down, it's I took the suitcase down from the attic, and which in French is the same verb, in English it's different. So you're doing it to the suitcase, you're not doing it yourself. If you have a direct object with one of those house of etre verbs, you use avoir instead of être. So you don't have to agree. Examples. Nous avons descendu la rivière en bateau. We went down the river in a boat. And you're going down a river. There's a direct object, a noun immediately following the verb. Elle a passé la frontière hier. She passed the border yesterday. So because you have a direct object, she's passing something, a border, you use avoir and there's no agreeing. J'ai monté le son de la radio. I increased the sound of the radio. I turned it up is what we would say. And because you're mounting the sound, it's avoir. Il a sorti la voiture du garage. He took the car out of the garage. So if he was going out, it would be il est sorti, but since he's taking the car out, it's il a sorti. Avoir and no agreeing. And I'm not going to worry about this last one. So just remember, it has to be a noun directly following. Okay, no preposition. Just you have one of those 17 verbs plus a direct object, a noun directly following. The rest of this we're going to talk about and do as assignments. So the rest of the slide presentation is just some exercises. I hope this helps. I know that this is kind of a fuzzy, weird concept for English speakers. So if you have questions, please let me know. And I think once we get back from spring break, I'm going to start some office hours where you can show up and ask me questions directly. So keep in mind that that's a possibility. Good luck, and keep me posted on how things go.